Hi, Shelby.
How are we doing today?
Pretty good.
Yay.
Welcome back to Miss Willa's Book Club.
Yay. Today we are doing Golden Sun. This is the second in the Red Rising trilogy. And this leaves off on a really good note. So, some spoiler free.
Yeah.
What did you rate this book?
I gave 5 stars.
Oh, I love
Yeah,
that.
I gave Red Rising 5 stars, and I gave this 5 stars. And the last 20 pages, I was like,
Oh my God, literally.
It's been killing me to not start Morningstar until after we recorded this episode.
I keep looking at it on my shelf and I'm like, oh, I'll come back to you, I promise.
Yeah. What about you? What did you rate it?
I also gave it a 5 stars.
And you only gave Red Rising 4.5.
Uh-huh.
So I'm glad that it came up for you a little bit.
Well, and then I got a little nervous because throughout this book, and we'll get into it in the spoiler section, but spoiler free, throughout this book, I was like, it's about a 4. It's about a 4. I think the last part gave it a 5 for me.
Yeah, we'll talk about the one scene that I think made it a 5 for me too.
Oh I love it.
So wild.
Well, do we have anything else spoiler free?
I don't think so. So
Yeah.
if you haven't read Red Rising and Golden Sun, spoilers for both books,
Love it.
but not for the rest of the series because we haven't read it
I
yet.
know. We'll get there.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, you guys can go ahead and find us on our socials at Miss Willa's Book Club Pod on Instagram and TikTok. And if you're looking for any inquiries for us, our email is misswillasbookclub@gmail.com. So with that, let's get into some spoilers.
Yeah. Where do you want to start?
Oh my gosh, I know. Well, let's start out. What was your favorite part of the book?
When Darrow and friends are attacking the city in their little flying mech suits, and the EMP pulse hits them, and they all drop like rocks into the water and are sitting stuck in the bottom of the river.
Oh my God.
I was like, that was so intense.
That was so intense.
That was the moment that for me, I was like, oh my God, this 5 stars. I was like, this is crazy. So crazy. And he's watching all of his friends the despair. Oh my God.
Oh my God, that was so wild.
Yeah.
The fact that he was looking around and everybody's just stuck in the mud at the bottom of the river.
Yeah.
Oh my God. And he's like, my friends are all going to die, but I have to still go up to the surface and get everything done that we had all planned. And oh my God. Yeah, that was intense.
I know. Well, and especially as he's trying to tighten the razor just slightly so that he can cut the suit, but not cut himself and lose his arm. So that part was intense. And then, he's wanting to cut out his friends or cut out the stained was also with him, right?
Yes.
And all that stuff. But it's I can only take up one. And he's I have to go up to breathe. And
Yes.
he just knows his friends are watching.
I know. Oh my God. And they can't breathe either because
Nope.
they're running out of the oxygen.
Yep.
And that image, I got chills when it's just phew, it just powers down.
Oh, yeah. Oh my gosh.
Oh my goodness.
So that was pretty nuts. That was for me one of my favorites. What about you?
I think my favorite part of the book, and I was thinking about it earlier, was when Darrow decides to show Mustang who he is.
Oh yeah.
Obviously, that character development, right?
Uh-huh.
And so I was like, I loved when he was like, I'm going to show you who I am and you can choose whether or not you believe me and whether or not you still want to be in this with me, right? Mm-hmm. And when they're facing off and it's Darrow and Ragnar and they remove their armor. Or what was it that they had on? They had on
the pulse armor or whatever it's called.
Their weapons. I don't know why I couldn't think of that word. They removed their weapons and they're basically we'll be vulnerable. We have the means to change. If you can't change, nobody can.
Right.
And then she just turns around and walks away. I was like, wait. So what's she gonna do?
Did you feel like it was a cop out for him to use the hollow cube, instead of just talking to her face to face?
Mm-hmm. I absolutely did. And I think the way that he probably could have done it that might have more of an impact. What if she would have had those invisibility cloaks and just brought her with him to the mom's house?
Yeah. I don't think that he wanted to I feel like he probably wanted her to know what was going on before there was any interaction with his or potential interaction with his family, which I get because he wants to make sure they're safe too.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to introduce any more risk than he already did. I loved that his mom recognized him right away.
I did too.
It was so sweet. She's like, I'd know you in any color, basically.
I thought that was so special. I cried.
Did you?
Yeah. I just thought that was so precious. That was just like the mom's love. And like, I didn't really love that she was like, you're going to do what you're going to do. Like, I don't support you or deny you type of thing. But I did love that she recognized him.
Yeah. And I kind of appreciated that even she said, I never liked EO for you.
Yes.
Because I think from start to finish in the book, like at the very beginning, we still have Darrow being like, I love EO and I love Mustang, but they're different types of love.
Right.
Right. Like they mean different things to me. Like as he progresses through the book, like especially towards the end, when he finally comes to that resolution, he was like, you know what? EO wasn't perfect. She was impatient. She was 17.
Yes.
Like, she gave me what she could.
Exactly.
But it's okay to accept that for one piece of my life and move on. And I think that he needed his mom to say that.
I think so too.
Okay, but while we're talking about EO.
Oh.
She was pregnant?
She was pregnant. We knew something
that was said.
But I didn't think it was going to be that.
I didn't think it was going to be that either. I hate her so much more after that.
Okay, me too.
I'm like, that was so selfish that you're not only taking your own life, but you're taking your unborn child's life.
I know. And she knew, because
she knew she had a crib.
Exactly. And the fact that she still sang the song because she knew she was going to be executed.
Yep.
Like, that was all her doing. She clearly didn't see that life with Darrow. She clearly, like, didn't want to have that family life. And it was like, I still don't think she had the knowledge of the extent of what was going on in the world. And she did that with her unborn child.
I know.
Oh, it made me like loathe EO.
I was not happy about it for sure. And because it's still, I felt that way in the first book, that she really pushed him into that situation. Obviously it's working. He's doing well, whatever. But man, it was just, that made me sad. Although the consistency of like coming back up of the like live for more bit, I think I really enjoyed that.
Like his mental journey through it, kind of, or
no, just that like it keeps coming up in the story, like the theme of it keeps coming up in the story. Because then when Ragnar is like sort of standing with or in front of Darrow when Mustang is aiming him down while they're on that area of Mars, and he even was like, like I live for my brothers and sisters, I live for whatever, like I live for more. And Darrow asked her, who do you live for? Right? Like that theme of keep coming back to live for more. I do kind of like that.
I liked that too. I loved the scene where Darrow was like, all right, Ragnar, like, are you going to live for yourself? Are you going to be your own man? And he was like, well, no. But then he eventually comes around and he ends up like coming into his own, which then gives him the purpose to like, he'll still, I'll say follow Darrow, but he's his own man. And I just loved that.
Because it's consistent for Darrow, because in Red Rising, the other Golds learn to respect Darrow because he respects them as individuals, and they respond to him only because of that respect, not because they have to. And then you come into Golden Sun and we have the Blue, who's the captain, who he names captain of the ship, kind of, even though she's rude and maybe not the one that other people would pick, but because she fought for it. She's like, give me this opportunity. I'm not going to let you down. And he treats her differently than other people might have treated a Blue in that situation, and then goes into being like, well, what if an obsidian or a stain could lead in absence of a gold? Like, he's like already starting to challenge them with some of the other colors to have them respect and want to follow him, not because they have to, but because they want to. So I liked that parallel too.
And I love that it just kind of continued from the first book too. Like when they were unslaving the slaves, like it just, I love that theme continues, and he was really incorporating some of these other low colors, and I love it. I love it. What did you think of Severo being a half red?
It kind of made sense. Like once we found out, I was like, oh yeah, our little guy at the bottom of the totem pole. It kind of makes sense.
I know. I loved that so much. And I loved the way that we found that out too.
Yeah.
Because that same scene, we're finding out that Fitchner is freaking Aries.
Were you surprised by that?
I was so surprised.
I was shocked. And then I thought back after I knew, and I was like, I feel like I should have seen that coming a little bit, but I didn't really, honestly, because we don't really find that out until Darrow's jumped onto the ship.
Yes.
And Fitchner helps him get off, right? And he's like, fuck, man, you screwed up my
I
plans.
know. He's like, actually, I've been heading this whole thing. There's so many things that are larger than you.
I know. And he's like, damn it, man. You could have waited.
I know.
Yeah, the like love story of Fitchner with the red woman, though, I was like, that was very sweet.
That was so sweet and so tragic.
Yeah.
It seemed really parallel to what Darrow had gone through, which I liked. And I liked that in that scene, you're already seeing Fitchner like having this emotional connection with Darrow because they have similar histories. And yeah, I think I should have seen it coming as well, but I definitely did not.
I didn't really either. And like as soon as he said it, I was like, oh, that makes sense. Yeah. But I definitely wasn't expecting it.
Oh, same.
Although
I loved it.
Severo then like addressing Darrow and being like, I know who and what you are kind of scene, and Darrow just breaking down. Oh my gosh. Like even just reading that, I felt like a relief off my shoulders because Darrow has felt so alone. And even before that, when who is it that finds him when he's like covered up trying to pretend to be an obsidian when he's meeting with the jackal and is that Harmony?
Yes. Yep. That was Harmony. Or no,
else?
was it Evie? She was the pink
Evie.
who was working for Harmony.
Yes. Evie and somebody else that he recognized from before. And he goes, really? Not Dancer? Like not any of these people? Like they don't care about me? And I think I felt so abandoned for Darrow of this whole book. He's doing what they said to do. And then he graduates and like
nothing.
Crickets. He has no idea what's going on or how he fits into the broader plan or what he's supposed to. He's like, I guess I'm just doing what I think I'm supposed to do.
Exactly.
And so then having that moment with Severo where at least he doesn't have to have a face on to everyone. I'm like,
thank God.
That had to be such a relief. And him bawling. And like,
I know that was a very high impact moment for me as well. I was like, wow, he probably feels so much better.
Yeah.
And then I liked too that when we find out that Fitchner is Aries, like we have felt abandoned by the Sons of Aries. Because in this book, we are now 2 years past him graduating. So it's been kind of a long time. And so now we're at the point where he's just feeling extremely abandoned by these people. And you find out that it's actually Fitchner that he's like, I've been here the whole time. Like, you're not actually abandoned. Like, we're here. You're just doing what you're supposed to be doing.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, and so going back to when Evie picks him up, though, when we find out that Titus actually did also come from the same group, because we questioned that in the last episode of whether or not they knew, like the Sons of Aries knew that Titus was a red in there too.
We did it too.
Oh yeah, so when you found out, were you friends? I was like,
it's like, what?
You just sent them both in there. Like, hopefully you'll find each other. What the fuck?
I loved in that conversation, though, that they were like, yeah, you guys basically came from the same place, but like, clearly Titus was not in the right headspace.
Different carvers, too.
Different carvers.
Yep.
And they were like, we're kind of glad that you guys weren't like best friends because he was not in the right headspace. Like, he would have given you guys away.
Yeah. But I saw that. I was like, oh my God. They like so casually are like, oh yeah. He was there too. I'm like, you little fuckers.
I know. It's like Darrow's going into this with like no background, no history, no communication, and just expected to be great.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Oh, he is pretty great.
I know. I did like, so in that moment when Fitchner was like, man, you ruined my plans. I was like, finally, one of the points where Darrow like makes these like abrupt decisions and then he gets a little bit of like, oh, come on. Why'd you do that?
Yeah. Well, I mean, him leading the charge into battle, they were kind of getting fucked up there too.
Yeah, they were. When he was basically watching all of his friends like
die.
Yeah,
getting like blown out while they're dropping in and stuff too. Oh my God. That like
intense.
God, that whole battle scene was so intense. But so epic.
So good.
It was so epic.
I liked it. What did you think about all of the travel throughout the book?
I don't feel like I had a super clear picture of where they were all the time, to be honest. I kind of was just like, oh, they're in space or they're on Mars. Yeah. I know that they went other places too, but like where that town was that they came dropping in?
Nope, no idea.
I have no idea where that was. But I just imagine it as like, you know, the Hunger Games where it's like they have like a sort of invisible dome over it. That's how I imagined it, was that the city
Iron
was
Rain.
all in that like invisible dome. Yeah, and the Iron Rain that they were coming down on top of that.
That's actually exactly what I pictured too. Oh my gosh. Love it. I love it. I was super confused with the travel because I was like,
I didn't really know where.
Oh, they're on the moon. Okay, now they're on Mars. Okay, now
I guess they were on Luna too.
Luna.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so I was just kind of like, well, where? Throughout the entire book, like while we're traveling, I was like, huh? Like, where are we? What are we doing?
Yeah, I feel like I just let that drift to the back of my brain. It didn't really sink in. It probably, I know it matters because I know that Luna. So Luna was where Darrow and Cassius have the fight, right? It's on that conference on Luna because Luna like was the powerhouse of the universe-ish.
Yeah, I think so. I think it was like I would kind of
that's
think
where the Sovereign is based, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I'm trying to think of a word for it. It's like like how we have like Washington D.C. That's how I
Capital?
pictured. Yeah, thank you. That's the word I was looking for. I was like, what is this word? Mm-hmm. It's like the capital of like the universe. That's how I pictured it at least.
Yeah, I think so too. Man, okay, well, should we talk about
Yes.
Oh my god.
Octavia. That's the Sovereign, right?
Oh, is that what her name was? Yeah.
I think so. I think it was like Octavia Alun or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. The Sovereign.
Yeah.
Wow. The fact that she's blown up another moon just to like show people she can.
I don't even remember that, to be honest. I'll be totally honest. I don't remember that at all. What, did that happen earlier or later in the book?
No, it was like when she was a teenager.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It didn't
This is
actually
background
happen.
information.
It's just
Got it,
background
got it,
information.
yeah.
But basically, she like hated her dad and like chime in whenever because I'm a little like lost on some of the details with her. But she like hated her dad and wanted to take over, and so she blows up this moon to like show her power.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't. The only part I remembered was the little bite.
Yep.
The truth game.
Yep. Oh my god.
Which she fucked herself over.
I know, and she lied.
Well, and then she got bit.
And then she got bit.
I really, that was like such a fun scene because there's like so much tension for both of them of wanting to ask like a question that they can get real information from, but Darrow has so many more secrets that he's like trying to tiptoe around.
Right.
And so phrasing things so carefully so that he like doesn't get bit. And then him blatantly asking like, were you going to let the Bologna, kill Augustus and his family and friends there? And she goes, no. Bam.
I know. Oh my god, that whole scene, I was like on the edge of my seat. Yeah. I was like, is she gonna lie? Is he gonna lie? Yeah. Are they gonna get bit? Oh my god. And I loved that Mustang was in the room for that too.
Yeah.
She's like, well, what the hell? Why wasn't I filled in on this plan?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
When Mustang showed up on Cassius's arm though, I was like,
bitch.
I was so mad.
I know.
And, like, I know it was all kind of to fuck with him and whatever, but I still was like,
me too.
Why, Ayana?
Winding up behind you.
I was not happy with her.
Me neither. I was like, you literally went to like the ex-best friend that you know are they're like blood sworn enemies.
I know, just really rubbing his nose in the dirt. But
oh my god, let's talk about at that conference. So Evie shows up and she's like, hi, here's the bomb. Or Harmony's like, here's the bomb, like go blow everybody up basically. And he drugs Roke.
I know, to save him because he's like, I love my friend and I don't want him to be there when everything blows up, but I feel like I have to do this. And the look of betrayal on Roke's face. And I know that there's a little bit more parts of the book where Roke is sort of on his side before he goes against Darrow. But that was the moment where I was like, I don't know if he's going to be able to come back from that breach of trust because Roke has been so on his side 1,000% the whole time. And that betrayal, I was like, I don't think Roko's going to get over it.
No.
So even though there was an in-between, I think that was really the moment that switched it.
I totally agree with you. There were points in the book where I would just look at Darrow and be like, man, what are you doing? Like,
yeah,
I understand keep your friends close and your enemies closer, but like you have to at least keep your friends still like in the circle and in the loop. Like there were so many moments where he just was doing his own plan and not sharing it with other people, which is like when you have these big of plans going on, like you have to have people you can confide in.
I'm so glad he didn't really go through with exactly how it was supposed to go down, because I was really wanting to shake him when he was going to blow it up. He was just like accepting this bait.
Yeah.
It's like, not all of these people are bad.
I know.
That's the thing.
And I liked that. So what got him to the point of like, yeah, I'm just going to blow everything up was finding out that Io was pregnant. And then he was like, yeah, fuck it. Like, I'm just still going to do what the original plan was. Like, this is what she died for. And then he kind of steps back and he's like, wait. No, he's like, I'm gonna think a little bit more logically, and he didn't let that emotion take over. I liked that. What did you think about the scene where he like calls out Cassius?
Yeah, well, and does the whole like blood swearing to Augustus, and because it's after Augustus was pretty mad at him when he didn't totally win the ship battle, which we haven't even talked about, but that's okay.
God.
And is trying to not sell him, but basically sell him, like just trying to get rid of him. And I think that that's a moment it's like starting to turn around for Augustus, because Darrow really plays into his pride.
Yes.
And is like, you could be king. You deserve to be king. And he's like, yeah, I do.
I love that. You're so right.
You're so right. I would be such a good king. Actually, yeah, you know what? You do you, boo. You be my champion.
I loved that we could see the manipulation behind the scenes.
So, like, fine-tuning that whole scene at the conference. Darrow is, like, fine-tuning, manipulating everyone. He's manipulating them into this being, like, a true battle against the families, like, champion against champion instead of just, like, a, bar fight between boys, right? And then in that scene, though, when he's like fighting with Cassius, and he's like, actually, you know who trained me? I was like, that's fucking good.
I love it. Because I feel like at that point, and maybe I completely missed it, but I didn't think that we had gotten that background of like.
No, we hadn't. That's when we as readers found out that Lauren had trained him. We had no idea.
Because I was like, am I missing something? Like, did I miss this?
No, I think that's when it was revealed to us too. As readers. Yeah.
Gosh. What did you think of Lauren?
That was the only character I feel like was like supposed to be more significant to me, maybe. And I was kind of like, yeah, you're there, old man. The only thing that I appreciated out of that is I think after Darrow scoops him up and is like, yeah, you don't really have a choice. You're joining this fight and you're going to be on my side. And he's having more conversations with Lauren now that Lauren is in the know on the rebellion side. And he looks at Lauren and is like, you know what? You're kind of a relic. Like, you're not really relevant anymore. You are set in your ways, and I don't think you're actually going to be able to grow into what you need to be for this new world. And I think Darrow needed to see that even these people that he does respect, that it's kind of like him figuring out with Io that Io wasn't perfect. I think he kind of needed to see that Lauren was great but not perfect, and there were still things, I don't know. So that's how I felt about Lauren, but besides that, I didn't find him that significant, to be honest. And
honestly, when Darrow was pushing so hard to get him to like, you're coming whether you like it or not, I didn't actually love that part. I was like, I feel like this is a little unnecessary. Let the old man just live and die the way that he wants to.
I mean, but they like thought they needed his expertise, I think.
Yeah. I really liked the way that Darrow's character development continued throughout this book, because I feel like we're seeing more, like we kind of talked about in Red Rising, how Darrow has this like cockiness and confidence. I feel like not only is it being backed up, but he's thinking more before he jumps into things. And he's noticing that when he does just jump into things, that he's like, oh, I probably could have thought about that a little bit better.
I think he also is learning to trust people more in this with important pieces of the plan. Because to your point, he does tend to jump on things or just have something going on in his head. But the fact that him and Mustang had this secret, quiet alliance that they were doing in front of Pliny, and is that how I'm supposed to say his name?
That's how I say it. I don't know.
But, you know, they're like pretending they don't like each other, but really they're on the same side, just slowly working Pliny into a place where nobody respects him or wants to listen to him anymore.
Which I hated him, so I was very glad to see.
Yeah, and like Severo being in the know, and him trusting Ragnar to be leading subgroups. I think we see Darrow start to grow into like, okay, I don't have to do it all. Having a solid team that I trust with all the information is important, because he gets that a little bit at the end of Red Rising when he has everybody take off the rings and tells them what's up, but it really extends further because now they even know that he used to be a Red. Like they even know like more information like that, and so I appreciate that side of his character development too, because he needs to trust others to be successful.
Absolutely. I absolutely loved the scene where he is talking to Ragnar and he's like, by the way, I'm a Red. Like I'm not from here. I'm from below Mars. And Ragnar doesn't even like
he's like
question it. Okay,
he's like, sweet.
Cool. I loved that it was so nonchalant because unlike the scene with
Mustang.
Yes, where it was like all emotion filled and everything. He was just kind of like, yeah, I accept you the way that you are. I'll follow you.
Yeah.
I liked Ragnar.
How did you feel about Darrow trying to work with the Jackal towards the beginning of the book? Did you... I mean, obviously we never trust the Jackal, but towards the beginning, did you trust that they were working towards a common goal?
I didn't know what to think. I felt like both of them kind of had little tricks up their sleeves, and they both had their own agenda. And you kind of hear that through Darrow's point of view, where he's like, I think he's got something else, but this is gonna like satisfy my needs right now. And so I'm gonna work with him right now, but it probably won't be a long-term alliance. And then it kind of continues as a long-term alliance.
It does.
Until the end. But what did you think about him working with him in the beginning?
I really always thought he was going to double cross him. I thought there was no way. And especially hearing how sleazy he felt when he was talking about taking control of the media. He was like, I paint the picture of what people are going to see and what they're going to believe, which preached today in our real world. I know. The control of media was pretty wild. And especially that he's like silently been taking majority. So he said he has like 30% or something total control over media. Like that's really significant.
Yep.
And makes me very nervous for Morningstar.
Literally same, especially because of how this book ended. But oh my gosh. So during the moment when Octavia and they're playing that game and Mustang walks in and she's clearly been working with Octavia, did you think she was actually on her side? Or no?
No, it's funny because in Red Rising, I thought for sure that she was going to be a traitor. And in this book, I don't know what it was. I just felt really confident that she had some games she was playing behind the scenes.
Oh, I don't know. Part of me thinks that Mustang is, because even when she finds out that Darrow's a Red, she doesn't accept or deny it. She's just kind of like, well, I basically have to think about this. And I feel like some other shoe is going to drop. Like she's either going to be like gung-ho all in, or she's going to be like, nope, I actually decided that you're not worth it. And I'm going to do my own thing.
I think she's going to grow into it only because she had a vision for change in society.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to take her a minute to come around to it because it's just she grew up, I think, as like the posh rich kid, right?
Yes.
And she's not used to being around someone from poverty, which is basically what Darrow is.
Right.
And so I think it was just having to wrap her mind around that. But I expect that she'll come around.
I hope so,
at least. But I expect that she'll come around eventually and learn to love him for who he is.
Gosh, I really hope so. So what did you think about the scene where they take the child they take Octavia's grandchild into the ship, and because of this, Aja kills Quinn.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's funny that you called him a child, because I imagine him as like 16, like a teen, like almost an adult, like a teenager. Because he's like having a conversation with them. He's like, "You guys don't want to do this."
Yeah.
I guess I like that's just super funny, because when he said child, I was like,
You're like,
child?
Who are you talking about?
Yeah.
And maybe he was. It's just how I picture
No,
it.
that's totally fine. But yeah, they pick him up kind of as like they kidnap him as leverage, right? So that they can escape the planet without getting shot down.
Yep.
Right?
Yep. Because they were like, "Oh, we'll take him for ransom, so you can't hurt us."
Yeah. I was more upset with Roke for blaming that on Darrow.
Yeah.
Like, I get, like, they were all just trying to get off the planet. You know what I mean?
I know.
Doing the best they could. And I get that he was sad because he loved Quinn. But I didn't really see how that tied together with being specifically Darrow's fault. Although I do think it comes to a head in that moment that everybody else is willing to do a lot for Darrow.
Yes.
And since Darrow has a larger goal, at the end of the day, he's not going to put himself on the line for all those people that will for him.
Exactly.
And I think that really offended Roke.
I think it did too. And it was just another nail in the coffin. Like, he had already drugged him. And Roke was like, "What the fuck, man?" And then now he's like still not including him in the plan. And even during that moment, he's like, "Oh, there's so much more I wish I could say, but I just can't." And he has to be that big leader like guy. And I was like, "Oh man, like you're creating an enemy out of somebody that really should be your friend." Like I felt like in that moment specifically, he needed to just open up a little bit more to Roke. Oh, well, and then around that scene is where Darrow ends up like taking the other fleet and names it like
when he like goes through the windshield?
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
Him and Severo. I pictured it like they're going through these tubes and just being like shot out into space.
I imagine like those water slides that you stand on and then the floor like drops out and you just go choop. I was imagining them like in these little spacesuits in this little tube like this and then them just getting like shot out like one of the like guns that shoots the balls with air pressure. That's what I was imagining. And then just like
I know the
shoot towards the window.
And I loved that. Like Darrow makes it through the window and he's like, "Severo, where are you?" And he's like, "Oh man, I got caught." Oh gosh. I did so a little bit of a difference from Red Rising to this one. We didn't get as much of the boy talk.
Yeah, there were a couple funny moments I think I had written down. Yeah, it was when they're on Luna at that conference, and at like the end, Fitchner has the stun gun and he's like shoots Augustus, is like shooting other people or whatever, and the Jackal is like, "Well, I'll talk to you," and Fitchner goes, "You're creepy, no thanks." There was a couple of moments like that where I was like cackling, like, "You're creepy."
I was literally laughing so hard. I was like, "Did he just say he's creepy?"
Yeah. So there were definitely still some moments that I laughed out loud, but it did seem a little bit less immature. But yes, Darrow is also 2 years older, so he's supposed to be a little bit more mature.
This is very true. I was just like, dang, I was kind of hoping that would continue because it was so funny.
Yeah. Severo does more of it, I think, because he says the phrases in Latin, and then you hear Darrow say it in English. He's like, "Really, man? This is what you're saying?"
I loved that. He was like, "Did you just say what I think you said?"
Yeah, so it's kind of funny.
Oh my gosh, I loved it. I love it. Do we want to talk about what happens at the end?
Sure.
So, the last like 30 pages of this book, I could not stop. I think I started at like 11 p.m. and I was like, "Oh, I have to finish this. I have to finish this." I think one of the specific moments that had me hooked was like 10 pages back. They were like, "Here's a box." And then you have to wait like 10 pages to figure out what was in the box. I was like, "What's in the box?"
Yeah, I see. Mine started maybe even 10 pages before that when it's like all a blur. They're getting ready for this ceremony. And somebody's like, "Oh, yeah, Roke's actually going to present the mask to you. Actually, he asked to do it And I had to close my book for a minute.
You're
I'm
like,
I really don't want to read the next page. Just like, I think I don't want to know what's about to happen. It was like, that was the moment I was like, oh man, this is not going to go well. Like there's no way. I was like, I know Roke is pissed.
Oh yeah.
Like I do not trust him to be doing anything here.
And it just kind of leads up from the rest, or the entire book leads up to that point where it's like, he thinks that he killed Quinn, or like was in the cahoots where Quinn was killed, and he felt like he didn't do anything to help save her.
Yeah.
He's keeping the plans from him. He's like actively not being a good friend to Roke. I knew the other shoe was going to drop at some point.
Yeah. Ugh. And then so many people die. So we've got Kitchener's head in a box.
Oh my God.
We've got Augustus shot by the jackal after he reveals that he killed Augustus's favorite son.
Okay. Which, like, so that part of that scene specifically, we're hearing the jackal side of things, and I'm like, damn. I mean, that is a really hard upbringing. Like, he tried to throw him off a cliff when he was a baby, and then he basically treated him like he wasn't his son for forever.
Still does.
Exactly. And he even says that. He was like, you're not my true son. You're no son of mine. Yeah. I was like, oh, no. As soon as he said that, I was like, he's going to die.
So, we've got they're dead.
Yep.
Victra is dead, right?
Yep.
Or I know she was bleeding out. I'm
assuming she died.
Yeah.
And while this is all happening, Darrow is poisoned from the mask. Or was it the crown that was put on the head? Or something was poisoned.
Something was poisoned so that he's like just immobilized, but can like see and hear everything that's happening.
And the fact that they're like, oh no, he can see and hear everything. He's watching this all go down and there's nothing he can do. I was like, no.
Yeah. And so on the bad team, we've got Cassius, the jackal.
Yep.
Who else was on that side again?
Aja, so the sovereign's like hitman basically. So now
there's someone else important that was on that side. I'm blanking on who it was.
I think it was like the entire Bologna family. Because
probably whatever his brother. I bet it was Cassius's brother that Darrow was fighting in the very beginning of the book when they're doing the ship battle. And we didn't talk about that. The first ship battle that they like to win. They literally blow up Darrow's like entire ship and kill all of the lower colors. And Darrow is pissed, and everybody else is like, "Why? They served. They did what they were supposed to." And he's like, "That was so many people." I know.
And they just literally did not care at all.
No value to the lower colors' lives whatsoever.
And that was right in the beginning of the book where we're coming out of Red Rising. It's been 2 years. And we don't really know what Darrow's been up to. And so to start the book off with that.
Like such a big loss. Yeah.
I think that's where I have it tabbed, where I'm like, oh, that's Darrow acting red again.
Yeah, caring about the lower colors. But it was funny because the beginning is really, I don't know. Like the whole beginning of the book, it feels like no one is respecting human life because the golds are blowing up the lower colors, but then Evie and friends blow up all the lower colors too when they're trying to get the jackal. Right,
and they even say it doesn't matter.
They were like, "We're gonna do what we gotta do." Like they do it, why wouldn't we?
Yes, exactly. And Darrow's like, "No, we need to be better. We can do better." that part where they end up blowing up, like his ship and everything, that was like not in the institute, but that's like part of their school, right? It's like a game.
I think it was like a follow on from there. Yeah, it was still a game for sure.
It wasn't even like real life war. It was just
like a practice battle.
Yeah. And they just killed all these people and they're like, yeah, it happens.
Yeah. Part of the school. I mean, they do the same thing in Red Rising. There's a bunch of golds that die there and they're like, yeah, it's for the good of the species.
I know. Crazy. Just wild. Oh my gosh. Yeah, the ending of the book really had me like, I was like, oh, now I have to wait to start morning.
I know. And I'm like, I'm so curious where it's going to go from here because Darrow's, Severo and Mustang are missing. Yeah. So they're free. Oh, that was one other thing actually I wanted to say is that for the second time in a row, Severo and his howlers saving Darrow from like imminent danger when they broke in after... Let's see, is this after Darrow had cut off Cassius's arm?
Yes.
It was like, I think after that whole scene. And And Severo comes in, when like punches through the window with all the howlers. I'm like,
Yeah,
like, I love you, Severo.
I loved it so much. Severo is still one of my absolutely favorite characters. And I think I like him even more now, knowing that he's a half-red.
Yeah.
I love it.
I'm assuming that they're going to be able to like free,
Yes.
Darrow, who's now incapacitated, but Ares / Fitchner is dead.
Oh my God, yes.
And a lot of our new alliance is dead, like Victra, and there was, I think, maybe some other people too.
Yeah.
Quinn is dead. We're like starting to lose some of the originals, but I think we lost a few of the Howlers.
Yeah.
In the invasion of the city.
That was so sad. The conversation between Severo and Darrow, and he was like, "Man, I'm so sorry about all of this." And Severo, you could just tell, was just like devastated.
Yeah. Because they definitely lost some people going into that too. So
it was like half of them.
Yeah. So their forces are pretty weak at this point. And Darrow is, who knows what Jackal's going to do with him now. I kind of wonder if the Jackal's going to use him as a bit of a puppet though. Because if that's where the whole media bit of it is going to come into. Yeah. That he's going to prop Darrow up as something because it is useful for his own cause.
Right. Well, and then Augustus is dead too.
Yes, so Augustus is dead too.
It's like,
so now is the Jackal, I guess, the head of their house? Is he now arch-governor of their house?
I don't know, because he just said, "You're not my son," and he claimed Darrow as his son.
Well, he claimed Darrow as his sword. But I couldn't really, like, that whole scene with the cutting of the face and the blood or something. He said something about, let me read exactly what it is. I'm going to find, I think I maybe have that page number written down.
And I remember during that whole part too, thinking it was weird that when he did whatever with him, that I was like, wait, so him and Mustang are going to be together, but they're going to be like brother and sister?
Yeah.
But
so Darrow says, "I weep for your blessing." And then he's talking about, like, how long are you really going to be in charge? Like, you want to do this. He's like, "Your heirs are completed. Your time as arch-governor will end. Let it, for you are not a man fit to be arch-governor of Mars. You're a man fit to be kings." Blah, blah, blah. And he goes, "Make me the sword of your family. I pull my knife from my boot and make a quick cut beneath my eye. The blood falls like teardrops. This is an old blessing from the iron ancestors, the conquerors. And it will chill those who see it, a relic of the bygone, harder age." Blah, 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 blah. And then he says, "I give my blessing freely. What you do, do in my honor. Rise, golden born. Rise, iron maid. Rise, man of Mars, and take with you my wrath." So I don't think it's like as a son. I think he's like a champion of the house. I think he's like a sword of the house, not
that
necessarily
makes sense.
The next in line.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm like, I wonder who's going to follow up from Augustus, because I don't think he's formally disowned the Jackal anywhere. Like, maybe he doesn't treat him as a son, but he's still got the family name and stuff. So I wonder if now that Augustus is dead, if he's gonna, I don't know.
I mean, because we also have Mustang though. Is it like
a man's world?
I was gonna say, is it a patriarchy?
I mean, maybe not, but it sure seemed like, for the way that he treats Mustang, I kind of assumed that must be a man's world.
Because how cool would that be?
Oh, that'd be great. Obviously, that'd be great. But since the Jackal also controls media, that's another piece where I'm like, I think he's working himself into a place where he has a lot of power.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of what I feel like he's been doing behind the scenes. And I like that we've only gotten like a couple of glimpses of it here and there. So we have like, oh yeah, he was kind of doing that during that conversation. But then you're like, oh, there was so much more to it. Yeah. And it kind of just reiterates the fact that we can't trust the Jackal.
Yeah. And that's why I say I feel like I've just been waiting for him to double cross Darrow anyways. And it's like sad that it was him and Cassius together, but I think we saw that coming. I mean, he made the Jackal cut his arm off, and he cut Cassius's arm off.
I know.
Oh, speaking of cutting out though, Mustang taking Pliny's eye.
I know. It's like, get it, girl.
Oh, that was so great. And then it was so funny, Severo taking the eye, could be like, "Can I keep this?"
I know. He's like, I could picture him like, this would look really good in my head. Oh my gosh. That was so awesome. So do you have any predictions for Morningstar?
God, no. I have no idea. I mean, I think besides that Severo is going to save Darrow from imminent danger. Again, again.
Yeah, right? Oh my gosh.
But yeah, other than that, I have absolutely no idea.
Yeah. Oh my God. I know. I feel like it could go so many different ways that I'm like, I don't even know where to start.
Yeah. I do think that he's incited a civil war at this point. Mm-hmm. So I'm assuming all of the family tensions, even outside of Bologna. And what's Augustus's last name?
Augustus?
Or is that the last name? What's his family name? Do we know?
Yeah, it was Augustus. Oh, something.
Whatever. His family, Augustus's family. You know, like we already knew there were tensions there, and there's definitely a formal feud going on there.
Yes.
But there are tensions between other families in power too. So I kind of think we might see more of that chaos civil war feel.
Yes.
Now that it's been started.
Definitely. Oh, so it's House Augustus. His name is Nero Augustus.
Oh, yeah. There you go. So what's the last name?
It was the last name.
Cool.
Oh
what about you?
gosh.
Do you have any predictions?
I feel like it's so hard after the way that it ended because I'm like, it can go so many different ways. Mm-hmm. And I hadn't originally thought that the jackal was going to use him and prop him up. I was picturing more of like a torture scene and that the jackal was going to take power.
Yeah, that is definitely plausible.
Yeah.
Also.
There are so many different ways things could go. Oh my God. But on a unrelated note, how did you tab this book?
I don't know. I've really only used 3 colors. I've defaulted more to this recently. I have like a basic color that I use for almost all the tabs that are things that I think we might want to come back and talk about later. And then I have one darker color of that for like the really important parts to talk about. And then I have a color that I use for quotes that I like in particular that I might want to come back to.
I like that. For this book, it was funny. We were kind of talking about it earlier, but I was like, I did so much tabbing and then I never went back and looked at them.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I was just more looking at like plot points and stuff. But the way that I tabbed it, I did like the headings of the parts. And then I did red for red tendencies. For pink, I did people. And then I was like, there's so many, it's too hard to keep up with. And then for yellow, I did like history and background. And for green, I did like important moments, which clearly ended up turning more into like blue because I ran through so many of them.
Yeah. Yeah, I think when we first started tabbing books, I started having so many tabs when I was doing them thematically that it was hard when I went back to try and figure out what was most important.
Right.
So I've started trying to only tab when it's like a specific thing that I might want to talk about.
Right.
When we're recording.
Exactly. And I feel like I'm kind of coming to a point where I'm like, it's less enjoyable for me if I'm tabbing my books like this. And so I'm like, maybe I'll just
read for fun.
Exactly.
Yeah. I know. I was saying that too. I think I might just, go naked on the tabs for the next book and see how that goes.
I know. I feel like that's definitely going to be more fun. Well, what a good 5-star read.
Absolutely.
I cannot wait for the next book.
Yeah. I'm excited.
Yay. Awesome, guys. Well, thank you so much. We'll see you guys next week.